Good morning. Welcome to our LEAPS July office hours. We're going to get started. In this session, we're going to discuss the LEAPS program and participation goals. This is going to include reviewing the performance and participation or attendance requirements for the RFP. We will provide time for questions at the end of the presentation. And we're now utilizing the chat feature, which you can enter your questions into for our office hours. So the LEAPS RFP identifies three main goals. It's providing academic support and enrichment opportunities to assist students in meeting their academic and personal goals, as well as exposing the youth to future learning and life opportunities. So this will include like tutoring, academic support. We also prioritize students' social emotional wellness and increase opportunities to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19, as well as expand students' access to social and emotional support services. This includes creating a climate that supports the development of the social and emotional skills and incorporate positive youth development principles into program development and implementation. And our third goal is to expand the students' community and family engagement um, and programs that support mentorship, employment, and life skills training. And this includes opportunities for literacy and related educational development of the child. And then we have the expected outcomes as a result of our achieved targets. And that's when students will have access to quality out-of-school time programs that enrich their academic, career, vocational, and community opportunities and support their growth and learning. Students will have access to a variety of activities that comprehensively support their social-emotional health and integrate positive youth development principles to empower their leadership and goal-setting skills. And finally, students, families, caregivers, and community members will be provided with holistic, ongoing opportunities to participate in quality after-school programs in their community. And this is an example of the goals of performance targets as it appears in your contract. In this example, we have a program that projects 50% of their students will become effective learners and 50% will have improved school attendance and behavior. And they're measuring using attendance records, assessments, progress reports, observations, and report cards. Um, we want to note that all the objectives identified must be measurable. So for instance, if you're not able to obtain report cards from the schools, this can't be used to measure your goal and target. So it's helpful to have multiple types of measuring tools to gather the various points of data. And you should be able to report on the progression towards the goals on a quarterly basis. For instance, if you only measure um, to obtain academic progress was through annual exams, you wouldn't be able to report on a quarterly basis. So that's why it's important to have that multiple points of data collection, staff observations, pre and post surveys, teacher reports, all those things that you can get on an ongoing basis so you can track the progress of each of your performance goals. And this is a second goal that's capturing social emotional wellness. Um, Note that there are, in this goal, there's various measurement tools. So we have attendance and retention rates, social and emotional skill assessments, youth satisfaction surveys, that pre and post assessments, observations, parent surveys, and also oral and written reports from mental health providers, school resource officer. So we have a variety of measurements in order to track our objectives. And then for our third goal, which is again, the program will expand the students' community and family engagement and programs that support mentorship, employment, and life skills training. We have, or our objective is to have 50% of program parents participate in at least 2 sponsored school community events. And then we have our measure as attendance, sign-in sheets at the community events for parents to sign when they attend. And note that it's also very important to capture the attendance and sign-in sheets of parents, community members who attend your events as it relates to your claiming. So if you had an event and you have certain expenses related to that event, it's important to kind of capture and document how many participants attended that event. So that all ties into what was expended. And there's other ways to capture the actual dates and times of your attendance on the attendance record. And this is a side-by-side comparison of the performance targets and goals as it's in your contract on the left-hand side. And then on the right is your program report where you would be reporting out on those goals. So for the program report, you would take the objective directly from the contract, and that goes into the objective sections into the program report. The program report, it should be exactly as it's listed. If you want to change your program objectives to capture more meaningful or measurable information, you need to reach out to the program manager so the changes can be both approved and documented. I also want to note that you want to utilize the narrative to explain the strengths and barriers to target achievement because the data only tells part of the story. So if you're having challenges meeting your objectives, or if you want to change, change them, you want to have a discussion about what are the barriers. Um, so in this example, with 50% of students who participate will become more effective learners. Um, as they practice the targeted academic and social emotional skills, um, we have their N of 100, and then they have of that 20% meant that goal for the quarter. And in this example, you'll see that the year to date is the same because if this was Q1, then they would have the year to date would be the same because it's only capturing the first quarter. But as you build to the second through fourth quarter, the year to date should expand to include, so if you have Q2, it should count what was achieved in Q1, and Q3, it should have Q1 and 2 as well, and so on and so forth. So the year to date should be a cumulative number that's capturing all the data collected throughout the program year. And then again, going back to the narrative section, um, if you are not achieving your goal, that's really where we want to see what were the issues. So for in this instance, if they're measuring school attendance, improved school attendance, if they have immigration concerns from parents, that could affect the school attendance. And then also we want to see what factors supported progress towards the target. So if you have met your target, we want to know what helped you to get there. That's for yourself. And also we use that information to help with other programs who might have challenges. We can see what worked for program A might work for program B. we also want you to be able to reflect, like if later on you're seeing that initially we were meeting our target, now we're not, having that documentation of what was working might help you to identify what changed or what challenges you're now facing. Um, and it's also important, you see on number 8, if the target wasn't met, what's the plan to improve for the next quarter? So if you're having an issue, we don't want you to just identify the issue, but we want to have a plan to beat and address that issue. And as always, your program manager, the SATARC, is available to support and help with any technical assistance, to help to identify any issues that you're having, why, how can we improve. But there should be continuous quality improvement, that you're reviewing your targets. If you're meeting the targets, you're identifying how. If you're not, identifying what issues you're having, how can we address these issues, and how can we improve in the future. And next, we want to just start talking a little bit about your participation or attendance targets. So your participation targets will be reviewed at the end of Q4 in year 2. So that's after this year, this 25-26 year. This will be the data through August 31st of this contract year. So we'd be using that to determine if the program is reaching their target. And then we'll be providing technical assistance from both OCFS and your SATARC to support the program in meeting their participation target. And then it'll be reassessed or a formal assessment in year 3, so that's the 26-27 contract year, and quarter 2. And then at this time, if the participation target has not been reached, the funding will be reduced proportionately by the percentage of the student's participation rate is below the participation target. And then based on that assessment, that calculation will impact funding for the year 4 and then year 5 of the contract. And then we have an example. So if the program has a funded capacity of 100 and they have their 75% enrollment target is 75 students, that would require them to have at least 71 students attend at least 30 days. So they would be 95% of the 75% target. And now I'm going to switch it over to Linda Dara to discuss some new contract update forms.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We've heard from some of the LEAPS contractors that they're not receiving our notices. So the team has developed an updated comprehensive list from the information we had, and then we're going to begin utilizing this updated list, but we're also going to send a link out to you so that you can update it periodically if any changes happen. Just like you did before, it's just going to be a new list. So when you identify staff and assigned roles that need changes or something occurs in your organization, you would go into this new link and provide that information. An email will be automatically generated when you go in and update that document, letting your assigned program manager know that new information is available. This functionality will keep your program manager informed in a timely manner. It also will be available for other members of our team in the event that your program manager is on leave. We'll utilize it for our distribution list. So hopefully we'll have a more current, up-to-date method of communicating notices, changes, any kind of information that we have. You can also use this to communicate if you have CMS authorization update needs. If you click yes, it'll send a automated email to the program manager, and then they'll know to send you the form to make those changes. So that link will hopefully be sent to you soon via email. We're going to also start utilizing an automated system. If anyone's familiar with Power Automate, it's something new that I'm certainly learning about. But the updated contact list form I just spoke about will be used to begin a semi-automated process for overdue notices. So monthly, one of our team members will review the record of claim submissions, and a list will be generated of vendors that have overdue claims, and email notices and letters will be sent out to those. So this will be an auto flow, and the messages will come from the LEAPS mailbox. That's our main shared mailbox. And your program manager will be CC'd, but it will not be generated from your program manager. So any special circumstances or discussions that you've had with your program manager will not be utilized to generate this. So please note that if you're getting this, it just means this is part of our internal process and management of the contract, and it doesn't negate any communication that you may have had with your program manager. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions when you get these automatic notices. And we're going to hopefully be doing these for a variety of occasions. If you're 30 days overdue with your claim, and that means if your claim is due 30 days after the closure of the period, so Q3 was due by the end of June. If at the end of July your Q3 claim isn't in, then you should receive a 30-day notice. If a claim is more than 60 days overdue and 90 days overdue, there'll be other notices that will go out. And we are adding board chairs to the 60-day and 90-day notices. So these will encompass a variety of individuals. It may not be just restricted to the one individual that's been communicating with the program manager over the time. We want to make sure everybody's getting the message, and we'll be utilizing that contact list that I referenced. The contact list will also be used to generate reminders and notices regarding expiring documentation, such as workers' compensation and disability insurance. We have the expiration dates based on the forms that you've sent us. We've data entered them into a system, and through the use of some manual and some of this Power Automate feature, it'll identify who has coming due or expired documents. Workers' comp and disability insurance certificates that have expired prevent us from paying claims. So part of our task is to review those expiration dates every time we're reviewing a claim. And if it's not current in our system, then we're not supposed to process the claim forward. We want to be proactive and have this list and send you reminders that, hey, maybe we don't have this on file. We understand that it may have been submitted and maybe there's an error in our logging and tracking that, and that, you know, this is just a double check system. That document process is going to be a little bit more involved than the contact list, and we're going to pilot that with a few providers soon. Program managers will be reaching out. We've been testing this internally. There'll be a special subject line that has to be utilized in order for the Power Automate to capture it. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull that information when you submit it. It's going to notify the program manager automatically that you submitted a new workers' comp certificate. It's going to log that workers' comp certificate as received, and it's going to send you a receipt that we got your documentation. Hopefully, if the system all works properly, it gives you some assurance that your document made it to the right individual, or at least to OCFS. And again, all that stuff will be coming from the LEAPS mailbox, but it will be CC'd to your assigned program manager. And coming in the next year, so soon we'll be looking at setting up our new office hours for year 3. So this current series of office hours ends following the August 13th presentation. A new link will be sent for you to register for the new series or for individual sessions if that works best for you. We want to hear from you. Let your program manager know, what kind of topics do you want? We want to use your time wisely. We want to provide the services and the information you need. And we want you to let you know we continue to grow. So the team will be onboarding a couple of new staff soon. Some changes to our assigned program managers then may have to occur because we have additional staff. We'll send you notifications if you are one of the contractors that will be impacted with a reassignment. Kathleen McGarry and Sophia Ickles remain the supervisors, so they're steady touch points if there's ever any concerns and you're not sure who your program manager is. We will also continue to perform our site visits. Our goal is to see at least one site per contract annually. We're going to try to hit that. It's been a slow integration. Year 1, we just did a few meet and greets. Year 2, we did a few more site visits. They're going great. We love to see the programs in action. And we're going to look at hopefully seeing at least one per contract in every year for years 3, 4, and 5. Please reach out to your program manager if there's a special event or time of year that you're really proud of and you want to showcase, and we'll try to schedule that site visit for that occurrence so we can see that happening. If you want to, we can even schedule these out for the whole year. Keep in mind, if you schedule it at 9 months out, some things may change, schedules may change, emergencies may occur, both on your part and ours, which require us to reschedule, and that's fine. Whatever works best for you and your team, we're happy to do that, and we're really enjoying our site visits. Just a reminder that summer programming, it's required to be part of your contract, and we have to have notification that you're providing summer programming under your SAC registration. If you're doing it under a DOH summer camp, we need to know that too, but summer camps expenses are not reimbursable under LEAPS. This is optional. You don't have to do summer programming, but we do have to prior approve it. Any changes to your location, even if it's a temporary change, we need to be notified. There's forms that need to be filled out. And of course, it needs to have a SAC registration. Any capacity changes must be communicated to your LEAPS program manager. We can't increase your funding if you increase your capacity, but if your capacity is decreased, it may impact your funding. So we need to know in a timely manner. We should know ahead of time to discuss the potential impacts, if at all possible. Nutritious food and snacks. I know when I'm reviewing some claims, I'm seeing a lot of purchases for items that would not or may not meet the Child Adult Care Food Program, and they're not identified for any specific event. So please be mindful that items such as cookies, candies, chips, Pop-Tarts, and we had some conversations about the nutritional value of Pop-Tarts in our office, and soda. These items are allowable for family engagement events, special events, but they don't meet SAC regulations, OCFS SAC regulations, and the LEAPS contract states that the school-age child care program must provide plentiful and nutritious snacks. Programs that provide meals and snacks to children must be in compliance with USDA, CACFP meal patterns. Only fluid milk, 100% juice, or water are the beverages that are approved. Just today, I reviewed a claim and saw Snapple. Again, if it's for a special event, that would be okay, but not for the day-to-day snacks and meals for the children. You're also supposed to have 4 weeks of current meals and snack menus that have been reviewed for nutritional content, and you can talk to your regulator about who could do that for you, but I know CACFP can review it even if you're not participating in CACFP. A little plug, not sure why you wouldn't participate in CACFP. Reimbursement for the foods that you serve during programming is significant. And keep in mind, if you're getting reimbursement from CACFP, you shouldn't also be submitting those for reimbursement from LEAPS. Anything that CACFP does not cover, you could submit. Items such as coffee makers, identify them on your MPS as being used for family engagement or community events because food and drink for staff are not allowable purchases unless, you know, it's when you were traveling to the conference. Of course, we reimburse meals for your out-of-area travel. Unique items such as, whoops, I lost my, there you go. Unique items such as, what did I see recently? Candles, gift baskets. You know, it should be very clear that they're either part of your programming in some way or tied to an event. So just make sure that, if not, we'll be reaching out via email saying, hey, can you tell us what this is for? And a lot of times we'll put that note in our system so that if, when the claim is being reviewed by others, that documentation is present. OSC audits are continuing to be requested. As we've provided before, these require you to provide all supporting documentation to us in a short period of time. This is usually a 24-hour turnaround that OSC tells us we need these documents. Sometimes we get 48 hours, sometimes we can ask for an extension, but they don't always, it's at their discretion and they don't always comply. We recently had one agency that all 3 of their claims were audited, and that's a lot to pull together in a short period of time, and the program wasn't able to, and all 3 claims had to be rejected by OSC, and they'll need to be relogged. We've also run into some situations where, with breaks or leave, individuals that have access to the documentation aren't present, so you can't get it for us. So try to plan ahead for those. If you know you've submitted a claim and it's still pending with us, and you know the essential staff is going to be out on leave, try to get the documentation from them and have it all organized and ready, just in case. We never know who OSC, what claim OSC is going to pull. They don't even look at who the agency is. They pull by claim number, and they send that information to us by claim number. And then we have to search and see who is this claim number attached to, and then reach out to you to get the documentation. All right. Let us know if you have any questions about anything that was presented here today in the chat feature. And if it's a program-specific question, something that, please reach out to your program manager. But we'll do our best to answer your questions today or get back to you as soon as possible if we're not able to. Kathleen, are there any questions in the chat feature yet?
Why, yes, there is, Linda. We have a couple questions. The first one we have is, we have found that 30 days is not feasible for tutoring. Can 30 hours replace a 30-day requirement? School districts provide 10 sessions and 1 hour to prepare students for testing purposes, and they've been successful. You want me to answer, or do you want to?
Oh, you're welcome to answer.
Okay. So yeah, the 30 days is the target. This reference is specifically counting tutoring hours, it appears to me at least. The goal is to have the students in the LEAPS program for at least 30 days during each contract year. So it's not limited to just the tutoring component of the programming, but also the larger programming. So days that's, the goal is to have the children in the after school programs for at least 30 days. I like to think of 30 days as the baseline, but we certainly want to see them there more. So even the days where there's not tutoring, the program should be offering, quality programming that's enticing for the children to come, to have the parents sign the children up. So we are not able to, it's written in the RFP as 30 days, so we're unable to change that to 30 hours of programming. Let's see. We have another question is, we input all data from Q3 in June. Do we have to go back and enter Q1 and Q2 for this year so the participation target is accurate? So Linda, my understanding is we're having contractors start effective with Q3 of this contract year and moving forward. Can they go back and do it retroactive if they want to?
Yeah, they're more than welcome to. The system will allow you to go back and enter prior to quarter 3 if you wish. We will be using, it's going to be a little bit unique. In order for us to complete the assessment and set up your contracts for the future year in a timely manner, we'll be looking at data at the end of year 3, quarter 2. And we want to see quarter 3 and quarter 4 of this year to kind of get an idea of how you're doing and what services we can put in to help you meet those targets with the last 2 quarters. My understanding, and we're still having discussions about the period of time we'll be looking for the 30 days, because it should be a year, maybe quarter 3 of year 2 to quarter 2 of year 3. So you still have a full 12-month span of a youth being able to attend 30 days or more in that span.
All right, thank you. Then we have another question about the Transact Pathwise. Will it create a report that can be easily generated indicating that 30-day attendance?
Yes, that is the goal of Pathwise, is to be able to generate that report, and that's what we'll be utilizing, at the end of this year to do our assessment and see where people are at. And then at the end of quarter 2, year 3, we'll utilize that data to do the formal assessment that may or may not impact the funding based on the participation target.
Thank you. Next question. It looks like it's specific to this organization. FERPA, F-E-R-P-A, is the external, I think there's a typo, which limits the organization, the LEAPS program, from creating a dashboard of performance or RTI. As you represent New York State, is there a reach around you have that can make access easier? At present, we are not receiving most information from parents, but that information is not always, we're receiving most information from parents, but that information is not always accurate. Lorenzo, I'm not familiar with the system you're referencing. I could try and take you off mute if you want to elaborate. Or you might be able to take yourself off mute.
If that's not possible, sorry.
What's that, Linda?
If it's not possible, it might be a good idea to have a separate conversation. There was a lot of announcements in there, and I know I struggled with following it. Maybe a more detailed email or a phone call to go over that.
Okay. And I'm the program manager, so it works out well. We have a request from Diana. Can you kindly provide a list of food snacks that are allowable for special events? I don't really, I think we have a lot of latitude with the special events. It's more so the daily programming. So when the children are in care, we recognize that a lot of these children may be coming from communities where there may be more food insecurity. So when they are in programming, whether it's an after-school programming or summer programming, we want to make sure that they're receiving nutritious snacks, which are in compliance with the SAC regulations, as Linda referenced, which follows the CACFP guidelines. There's some resources online with that. But for the special events, again, we don't obviously we're not going to pay for alcohol. And I've never seen anybody ask, so I don't think that was a question at all. But I think we've had a lot of latitude with what we allow for special events. We want the families to come and be part of the programming. We recognize that, um, part of getting parents to the after school program, either at the end of the day, or, during the summer months, would be like providing food. I mean, if a parent has, a few children to go to the event and with a couple of hungry kids, is not a fun thing to do. But if we can draw families to the special events, so if you're having like a gallery night where you're displaying the children's artwork, if there's some sort of family engagement with, community programming, again, having those snacks or meals. So when the parents come in the door with their children, there's food for them to eat. We all know that children are probably, less, I know my son, when he's hungry, it's not a good place to be out some outside of our home. So yeah, like, as far as meals, snacks. I know some of the programs do like at end of the year, like carnivals. So there might be ice cream and such. And again, I feel like we've had a lot of latitude there. The money is intended for LEAPS programming. So we do want to see the bulk of the money going to the hours that the children are in care. But by all means, having those special events, which is also a target, is important. And if you're using food to help increase your numbers of participation from the families, that's fine. So can't say that we have lists about the special events about what's allowable, unless you want to add anything, Linda, from your reviews.
No, I would just question everybody to be mindful of your audience and the special needs that might be, such as, gluten-free, dairy-free, allergy, religious preference, like whatever your community needs may be, make sure there's alternate options, not only during care, but when families are coming.
All right, thank you. Has there been any discussion about advances again for contracts in year 3? It was extremely helpful.
At this time, there are no scheduled advances for year 3. Or
Thank you.
in year 2 was a special occurrence. Generally speaking, they are at the beginning of a contract to help you get startup and not in subsequent years. But we advocated for an advance for year 2 and we're able to get that. But the information we're being told at the present time is there won't be future advances.
All right, thank you. Let me see. I've got 2 lists going with questions. They're coming in now. The percentages of students attending, the percentage of students attending 30 plus days won't be accurate without all the quarters data. So, Lynn, I know you referenced that there might be reviewing the last 2 quarters of this year, where contractors are entering in the data and then combining that with the first 2 quarters of next year. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay.
And what we might not have stated, but your funding is per site and your capacity is per site. So the assessment will be per site. So one may be underachieving, you're struggling with getting students coming, and another may be doing great. So the funding may be decreased at one site and not at another. We're not taking all 3, lumping them together, and then doing an assessment. And I say 3 if you had 3 sites.
All right, thank you. Can you clarify more about summer reimbursement?
I think I need more information, but if you're providing summer care, and then reimbursement has to be directly related to LEAPS, UID goals and activities, if you're operating under your SAC, if you're choosing to operate as a summer camp under DOH, the expenses are not eligible for LEAPS. If you're conducting maybe some staff development, you're running a summer camp and you're caring for the kids, and those expenses won't be submitted to LEAPS. But you are going to do some professional development and purchasing to get ready for the fall, those expenses will be related to the LEAPS program. So I would suggest that you speak with your program manager about any of those. If there's a specific expense you're thinking about, just reach out. Because I know summer programming does get a little different. We embrace the field trips in-state. Out-of-state needs prior approval. And we prefer they have a component that you can say matches your PYD goals. Sometimes it takes a little bit of creative thinking. If you're going to Dave & Buster's and doing electronic games, how does that relate to your PYD? Those are things you need to be prepared to answer.
Thank you.
I want to mention too, there was a reported office hours in regards to allowable and non-allowable summer expenses, and it kind of broke it down as well. I think it's on the website.
Thank you, Abby. That's a good reminder. All right, and then we have another question. If we operate before school programming, does that attendance count towards the 30-day requirements?
If the youth only attend before school, that does not count towards the 30-day requirement.
So we're looking for those children who are attending before school also be attending after school, and the after school hours are what we're factoring in along with summer, correct?
Correct. Correct. So, and if they attend before school on Monday and after school on Tuesday, it's the Tuesday that counts. They have to, the before school is an option. We're allowing you to use the funding to provide an extra enrichment opportunity and support for the family, but that doesn't count towards the participation targets.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, will we get a recording of this video?
Yes. Once the recordings have been vetted, then they need to be put in a format that can be uploaded into our website. The YouTube link is put on our website.
Yeah.
So you can I'm still waiting to be created and posted. It should be soon. So it takes about a month sometimes to get that done.
Thank you. And as Abby pointed out, all the office hours we record and are posted on our website. And so certainly go back, and if you haven't attended them regularly, go back and take a peruse, see what's there and what might be relevant to your what you're interested in learning more about. Okay, and then we just want to clarify that they'll be evaluated by hitting their target number from year 2 Q3 to year 3 Q3. This will determine our budget moving forward.
Yes, that's our understanding at this time.
I just want to fix that, Linda. It's actually year 3 Q2 we're looking at, correct? Quarters 1 and 2 of next year.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so year 2, quarter 3 and 4, and year 3, quarters 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Next question, going back to family events. Is soda allowable expense? Yes, a family engagement event. So soda is an allowable expense at a family engagement event, and what Linda had referenced earlier. We also want to, keep in mind that the after-school programs, there's a component of education for the children and the families. So I would certainly encourage offering other, including beverages, such as water, flavored water. We want to, be modeling for our families, what healthy snacks look like and options that are available. Certainly that should be going on during the after school program hours. It is allowable, but like I think Linda said earlier, is keep in mind, what you're offering. All right, so let's see, another question. With clarity, we are blocked by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, thank you, Lorenzo, from receiving direct information concerning students from the school district. That affects our access to accurate information and hampers our ability to present accurate numbers for quarterly reporting. Okay. And then what he said earlier was that we don't always get accurate information from parents. So that makes more sense. Just go
Makes a
back.
little bit of sense. If we're talking about goals, then, and you don't have access to the information to do your assessments and your measurements, then pick a different measurement or speak to your program manager about goals that you can measure. And if it's the data entering into Pathwise outside of the child's name and date of birth identifier to show that they've been in attendance, that's understandable if that information isn't shared with you. Our goal is to see, are we meeting the diversity, the community that was the intent of the grant? So we wanted some information on demographics in order to demonstrate that. But if you're unable to get demographic information, if that's what this is referencing, we understand.
Let's see, another question. If we offer summer programming and our enrollment is lower, does that count against us? Our summer enrollment tends to be closer to 50 students, while we have 155 for enrollment during the school year.
Maybe. Students need to attend the after-school program to count towards your enrollment numbers. So if they're only attending in the summer, they don't count towards your participation target at all. They have to attend sometime during the school term. But we're looking at what number of students over the period of that 12 months attended 30 days or more. So we're not saying they have to attend every single day in the summer or you have to hit that target every day. It's more how many of your students hit that target. So in our example, the target goal, and you can all do this math. What is your capacity? And I use 100 because it's very simple for me. If the RFP and the contract say you have to have at least a minimum of 75% enrollment of your capacity, then you have to have 75 kids enrolled, and if you have to have 95% of the enrolled participating 30 days or more, that means 71 students have to have attended 30 days or more. But you might not have 71 attending every single day over that year, and that's okay.
And just like an additional question to that is they have to be enrolled during a year to be eligible for summer?
Yes. If they only attend summer program, then it's not eligible towards the participation target. This is an after-school grant. That was the goal. The morning care and the summer camp or summer care are optional.
Okay. And just jumping back regarding the OCFS website and LEAPS after school programming, Abby Langdon put in the chat the link to more resources from our previously recorded office hours. So if you're not already familiar with the website, Abby put a easily accessible link. And please peruse that website. There are a lot of great resources on there. It keeps growing, which is nice. We've actually had to look at how to consolidate the website a little bit. So we've put some buttons in there to kind of get you to links a little quicker, make it more visually friendly, less words, more icons. Definitely check in with that website for resources and any updates. So another question is, if we hit our target, can we still enroll new participants for the summer?
Absolutely. If you have the funding available, you can provide that summer program. So you're not restricted in any way from that. Just keep in mind if your after-school enrollment and participation isn't being met, that it will impact your funding in the future potentially.
Yeah.
We want to reach as many youth as possible and affect hopefully some positive experiences for them, have some role models, some experience, some skill building. So any way you can get children to get those services is encouraged, and hopefully if somebody attends the summer program, then they'll be happy to come back in the fall and attend an after-school program.
Yeah, I have a few contractors who are doing that. They're looking, using the summer, their LEAP summer programming, and they're using this to ramp up enrollment for the fall. Let me see. We still have a couple more questions. So we're still confused by the assessment of year 2, quarter 3 through year 3, quarter 2 participation. What about graduating fifth graders? So it looks like this program, maybe the children won't be attending next year because they're possibly going to a different school.
Yeah,
No.
we did consider that when we were looking at it, and I'm still waiting on final confirmation, and I'll send something out regarding the confirmed period of time. A student that maybe only attended 25 days in this school term and then graduates out and will be attending the program next year would not count towards your participation target.
Okay. Another question. Why would before school hours be an option if it doesn't count unless they attend after school that day? Do you mind if I answer that, Linda?
No, I don't.
And feel free to add on. I had previously overseen the Advantage After School program where we only provided funding for after school, not before care, not breaks, not summer. And that was a request from our contractors to be able to use the funds for before care as well. So that was one of the feedback from our contractors that we're able to factor into the funding. So it doesn't count, but that was a request from our contractors to have before care as well. All right. Any other questions? We're coming to a close.
Thank you, everyone. There was a lot of great questions. Thank you for participating and for being here, and hope everyone's keeping cool and enjoying their summer. And we look forward to year 3.